Welcome to the Highly Evolved Male Summit. My name is Ethan Dukelter, and today we have the amazing Kenny Mammarella D'Cruz, also known as the Man Whisperer. He facilitates workshops, works privately with individuals, and has held men's groups for 16 years. He trains anyone who wants to communicate better with men, to hold safe space and allow them to be heard and turn around their lives. Kenny's incredible life journey has taken him from refugee camps through overcoming OCD and mental health issues. Turning around his own traumas and dilemmas in life has allowed him to meet men where they are and facilitate life-changing shifts in perspective and life. Welcome to the show, Kenny.
Thank you. What a brilliant intro. Good on you with that.
I've practiced that over and over and over.
Now I've got to live up to it. Well, thanks.
Well, I've got to say, it's great to have a fellow Brit on the show. I don't think I've had one so far. So,
yeah, even though I'm a refugee from Uganda, but I sound it and I come from it. I feel very English, actually.
Yeah.
I was brought up in Wales after refugee camps. And when I moved to England, no one could understand the word I was saying. I had such a strong Welsh accent.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. But there's a lot going on our side of the pond, isn't there?
There is indeed. There is indeed. Yeah. I mean, is the United Kingdom falling apart with Brexit and all that? But that's another subject. So you've obviously had a very interesting life, as you've just said. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It's only as I got older that I realized that it was a bit funky. To me, it was just a lot of hassle and a lot of fear and a lot of destruction and a lot of whatever it was. That was my normal life that I needed to survive. And I guess I got addicted to, firstly, surviving, and secondly, taking care of people. Because as a little boy, I guess from the age of 7, when my father said to me, I can say this without feeling like I'm going to cry now, when my father said to me at the airport in Uganda, you may never see me again, and you're now the head of the family. That was very much little boy pretending to be a man on duty. And then refugee camps, well, on the plane, it's like, so does that mean that I need to find us somewhere to sleep and something to eat, and how am I going to take care of us? And then refugee camps were just horrible because, well, we suffered a lot of racism in refugee camps because my family's from Goa, so I was brought up Portuguese and we're Catholic. And we were very, very, very much the minority, and we didn't know any of the languages or the cultures or what was going on with the other people. And we were attacked. In a lot of ways, we were badly attacked. So it was horrible. And considering I was supposed to be the one that takes care of the family, I failed. I didn't know how to do it any better. And so it went on. We moved to a small town in Wales, and they hadn't seen people who aren't white. And they heard that we're Indian, which meant we had bows and arrows. And they were kind of like trying to figure out, there were 2 little girls that would like sneakily check the house out, wondering where we hid our bows and arrows. And then others heard that we were from Africa. So obviously, if my father got angry, he might eat them. And it was like that. But this is a very remote part of the country, a very long time ago. And you can't blame people for what they think, especially considering the rubbish in the media. So it was a busy, busy time. And for me, yeah, I survived and I did well. I mean, yeah, I had lots of mental health issues, but the only one that showed was the twitching and the grunting and, the kind of tics and the Tourette's type stuff. The rest was my dirty little secret. But then I realized that as I grew older, that even though other people saw me, even in my 30s, as a good man, I didn't buy it. I thought, yeah, fine, but what about me? And I needed to be my own man before I could respect myself as a good man. That's authenticity. And then I noticed also that I kept attracting people and situations where I play this figure that can kind of like help people turn things around when they are in trauma. And I attracted situations in my life that I needed to survive. And this is the core part of some of my work with men at the moment. I've adapted a system called voice dialogue to work with men, where I speak with different parts of a man. And very often there isn't really a man in them. There is a surviving boy, or a traumatized boy, or abandonment, or some sort of an issue that's being avoided through sex and drugs and rock and roll, or food, or, you know, whatever it is. And that's fine, because people need to survive. Excuse me. But I realized that I kept creating drama because I was used to drama, and I kept surviving the drama because I knew how to survive drama. And I thought, well, wait a minute, is this my iffy little game because I know how to do this? And am I limiting my freedom, my power, my passion, my living beyond drama and trauma? So I needed to unlearn that. I needed to get to know the man in me rather than the surviving boy in me. I needed to change the script from surviving and attracting things to survive into living and attracting things to live into and to grow. But that meant vulnerability, and vulnerability was not an option. And I think a lot of people do that kind of thing. A lot of people have so many ways of pretending to be in control. And for me, the two main things that men avoid is the vulnerability, humiliation, and abandonment. So Let's Pretend was the name of the game, where it's turned into Let's Live. And with the men's groups, well, I think with all men, for me, actually, it's turned into Man Up and Talk About It, because it needs to come out so it can be transformed, so it can pass, rather than be the dirty little secret that's being survived. And meanwhile, no one knows what's going on, including the poor host of the dirty little secret. So thank God I got stuffed up, because I got to undo it, unlearn it, and know how to pass it on to other people.
Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, like what was the actual point in you realizing that you were recreating the same patterns? Was there something, was it the fact that you were stuffed up with emotion, or?
That's such a good question. I noticed from quite a young age that there was a pattern to the type of people I attracted. There was a pattern to the best friend type person. There was a pattern to the women I attracted. There was a pattern to it just felt familiar. And I was addicted to Columbo. Do you remember Columbo, the tea? And, you know, it's one more question. But for me, life became Columbo, and I was always looking for clues. What is life trying to tell me? And I noticed my own cycles, and I noticed that the same people would replace each other. It was like the same character, different people. And I guess I noticed it first with a best friend that I had before I noticed it with myself. And it got to a stage, so I was brought up Catholic. He was brought up Jewish. And we got together. He was a minor pop star. I was in publishing and publicity and stuff. And we got together, we got to hang out and stuff. And we both realized that we wanted more out of life. And we wanted more. Religion wasn't going to help us. They both limited us. So we were kind of together. So I would have been early 20s, he would have been mid 20s. And we kind of realized that we were looking, we were searching. We tried Buddhism, we tried all sorts of chanting and meditation, we tried everything pretty much. And then got into theosophy. And with theosophy, it seemed to be very heady, but it's where the religions and science and nature and the occult and the shadow and everything, there was space for it all. So I did that for a while, and it was really good, and it made sense of a lot of madness that happened in my life. But as we hung out, stories came out, because we had very, very different stories. And I got to see from his stories that they were cycles, and it was the same old story. And it was the same old women and the same old betrayal from his best friends to his bandmates. And it's like, wait a minute. And then I looked at myself, and then I looked at I'll tell you what happened, actually. So after we split, I had a marketing and publicity business. It did well. It did really quite well. And I noticed that for some reason, my clients would tell me about their private lives. And I'd listen. It was all quite interesting. And it was more than interesting. I cared. And stuff would shift for them. And then I noticed after a short while that the ones that talked to me about their personal lives, their businesses boomed. And the ones that didn't, the ones that stuck in there, and if I do this, then that will happen, and it was all very linear, it kind of plodded on, or it only went as far as their control would allow it to go. So it was another, wait a minute. So then I thought, okay, I can do this. I didn't know what therapy was. You know, we were refugees. We would report therapy we thought was for Hollywood stars and things like that. So I didn't know that it was anything like therapy. And then I thought, wait a minute, okay, so if that's going on, then how can I pretend not to be doing this? Meanwhile, I could kind of let people be a lot freer and a lot more successful and a lot happier in their lives. So I hid behind various things and pretended it wasn't going on and it wasn't me because I didn't need the attention. Eventually, I was just so busted by so many people, and they said, come on, get on with it. Bring it out into the world. This is what's needed. Can you do it? So that's how my awareness of the main tools for me, which is the repeating cycles, the belief systems, and working back and getting to the nub of things. That's where it started from. And then I realized that it's not about the whole story, and it's not about thinking about the story. It's about the emotional story. And I went through my own story in fine detail, from my own memory, asking my mother, my father, various people, even Googling things on the internet. And after quite a while, and lots of secrets and lies and red herrings, I had enough of the story. And I thought, okay, so I've got the story. So what? And then I realized that the real story that's going to set me free beyond the logical is my experience of my story, my emotional story, which made things a lot more efficient, because then I can sit with a client or in a men's group and see where things are right now and what's stuck. And if I know what's stuck and I have an idea of their story, even if I don't, I'd get them to feel into what's stuck and then follow the feeling. And very often in a flash, it would take them right back to where the pause button is depressed, where their spirit was broken, where there was a drama or a trauma or something happened, and somehow they're stuck there and still trying to fix that or live beyond that. So these tools and these things that they just kept emerging. I just thought, wow, that's so cool. Wow, that's so efficient. So I work things out, firstly, to save my life and to live a decent life. Secondly, if I can do that, then surely I can pass it on. And it's been really easy to pass it on. I mean, 16 years later, I'm running men's groups, but I'm training people to run their own men's groups. And I'm just giving them every tool I have for every situation and passing it on as best I can. So it's all me trying to save my life.
Yeah, that's it. What I really love about your story is that, if you can do it, having been a refugee and, come over to this country and gone through all of those struggles and challenges, anyone can really shift their own life. And I really love that as a story. It's exactly. Powerful. It's catalytic for many of the people that will be watching. And that's amazing. Yeah.
There's one thing that I feel a little bit dangerous to say. And that's especially these days where suddenly everyone's a men's coach and everyone's an expert and everyone's whatever it is that they get social media and search engine optimization and PR to say they are. And I do find it quite dangerous because it's not about doing it and being special and making a personality and a following out of it. If everyone tells me I'm great, then I must be great so I don't feel so bad. It doesn't work that way for me. I can find that dangerous because I've come across a few men who have been chasing the wrong thing, whether it's chasing women or chasing their power or chasing being the king or, you know, all that shenanigans. Yeah, it's all well and good. Pick up your tools, live it, and pass it on. Surely it's not about, you know, for me, boyish competition. It's more about manly collaboration. And that includes the feminine, and that includes sharing, and that includes listening. It's not about being the best or the biggest or the richest or having the babe or whatever. It's like, come on, grow up. So yeah, it's a funny one. It's a really funny one. And it's really important for me that people also realize the dangers of what they're doing, because I've attracted a few clients and sometimes they've been suicidal. And I've said to people who I've worked with, sure, fine if you're going to do this work, but make sure you've got some backup. Do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying you have to be perfect and you have to be sorted. It's an ongoing journey. But have some backup. So if you're out of your depth, then you've got someone that you can refer to or send your client to. And if it's on the edge, then yeah, put your hands up and pass it on. So the soul you're working with is safe. I go to supervision, as you know, therapists go to supervision. It's important for me. It's important for me to know that I'm running a clean operation and I debrief and don't take my own staff into work with other people.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I mean, from what I've seen with coaches generally, is coaches tend to have coaches, and those coaches have coaches as well, or mentors or whatever. And I think that's maybe a point for the viewers. Even if you're just an everyday person looking to make changes in your life, having some sort of mentor, coach, you know, even if you're not mentoring someone, is a great thing, because it helps you move forwards, and it's something you can bounce things off of, you know, and get clarity on, because, you know, at the end of the day, no one's perfect. So and that goes along with what you're saying about the win-win, the collaboration, joining together of minds, rather than trying to, you know, compete with each other all the time, which is like an old paradigm kind of thing. Yeah, that
totally. And it's take part. So many men. I mean, 16 years on, I'm running about a dozen groups a month now, including the online groups. And so many men come in, even though they may not state it this way, with what's wrong with me and how do I do me right? And the most important thing for me is that they are being them authentically, rather than coming up with another act that leaves them out, which is the biggest tragedy. And I know, so as well as the men's groups and the facilitation programs, I run a workshop called Men Flirt, because so many men, it's like, I need to fall in love. I need to have a, you know, Men Flirt's not about flirting, and it's not about being a fraud in order to get a woman. It's about being the flirt. It's about being authentic and showing who you are. But more than anything, and this goes for everything to do with my work, it's about that authenticity allows an am I frequency, which is just fragmented and it puts everything out. It fine tunes it into an I am, into a frequency that's true about you. And when that goes out into the world, then everyone who's off a similar vibe gets attracted back. So it's not chasing or selling or anything like that. It's being naturally attracting. And the big one for me is being able to respond to it rather than react to it. Because a response includes me. It comes from my center, and it kind of gets us extended out into the world, and it allows things to grow. Where when I used to react, that used to come from fear instead of love, and it would demand the old script, because I would make it what I'm used to happening, what I'm used to surviving, and I'd be going down that old Groundhog Day again.
Absolutely. So many men are getting by just by putting masks on, aren't they? And going out there, protecting themselves with these, you know, armored shields. You know, in my case, that was a heavy metal band vocalist. And, you know, some people...
I bet you were good at that.
I was actually. I was.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah, it was really, I was a really, really shy child. So, it was a stretch for me. But once I got to the point when I was doing it, it was powerful. But as we know, it's not necessarily the skills or the attitude that works in real life. So, it had
But a
its
great
day.
part of you. That sounds like a really good part. But if it's everything, then it might be a bit lopsided.
Exactly.
Can I use a cheap line?
Sorry?
Can I use a cheap line from what you were just saying?
Yeah.
Masculinity, not masculinity.
That's right. I'm going to write that down and put that in the write-up. Oh, God. Yeah. So what was I getting at? So essentially a massive breakthrough for me was to actually come across, to be not come across, to be authentic. And that was actually a very painful process, and I'm sure that for many other people that may be a painful process as well, dropping those masks. I love that.
Here's a question with that. Was it more painful dropping the mask and getting on with it, or was it more painful thinking about it and worrying about it?
I wasn't thinking about it because I didn't know that it was going to happen. It was something that happened to me. It's something that I went away traveling actually, and it fell away, and I was like, I'm a 12-year-old boy again. And being that 12-year-old boy with no mask and just being there raw was the painful part. But the knowing that I'm going in a positive direction was more relieving than anything ever. So in that way, it was great. Yeah.
So you were sent a catalyst basically, and that catalyst shocked you into, I guess, where you were stuck, where you were vulnerable, and where to carry on with an authentic life from. Fair to say?
Yeah, I think, because things had got to a point where they couldn't move any further forward, so they had to change. And it's almost like a rock bottom and then come back up,
Wow, you've done well then, eh?
Thank you. But anyway, this interview is not about me. This is about what we're doing here. So,
but saying that, I'm thinking about the men's groups.
Yes.
And the best thing about the men's groups is it's not a group of men saying, okay, let's compete and beat our chests and show each other and ourselves how wonderful and powerful we are. It's about hanging out. And it's about asking questions, seeing what's similar, noticing what's different, and more than anything, learning from each other. And when I go to, my men's group or whatever, it's checking in with who I am right now and who I no longer need to be to make space for me to grow in authenticity. And it's just like, let the other stuff pass, rather than I need to find myself and I need to do myself large. And once I find myself, everything will be okay. I'll never find myself. Myself keeps growing and changing. I just need to let go of whoever I'm not anymore and be the leftovers.
Absolute wise words. That's incredible. Because that can be part of the pain. Once the mask is dropped, it's like, well, who am I? Who am I supposed to be? And that in itself can be painful. So absolutely, I love that you've clarified that for many guys. Yeah.
It's shocking how many guys have not had fathers, or have had absent fathers, abandoning fathers, abusive fathers, fathers who were more tearaway or tantrum or teenager than they are. And without that safety, because I would say that a boy or a child needs to feel safe, needs to feel protected and provided for. Very, very basic needs. And I would say there is a high proportion of men who come to the men's groups, and certainly who see me privately as well, who have had issues with men because they haven't been around men, or they haven't been around community, or they haven't been around healthy, authentic masculinity. They might have been around, you know, competitive or loud or money or fame and fortune, or just like rugged and raw and whatever. But is that helpful for them to turn into their own man? Or was that the survival that the generation before them had to come from? And that's not necessarily blaming the men or their fathers or whatever. I mean, sure, maybe some of them are to blame, but circumstance. And it might be anything from the war or fear, mental health issues, addiction. So many people have alcoholic parents, or chase the money to make things okay, poverty, whatever the reason. And so many men can be so much trying to find the reason why I'm like this, rather than living beyond this into who I really am. And I always say that parents, your father, people cannot share what they haven't got. So know the story, accept it. You may as well accept it, because at some stage you're going to have to. What is. Accept it, let it pass, and make more space for you to show up. Learn from it, unlearn from theirs, and empower yourself with that, because surely that's why it's happened. And if it's not, then you may as well pretend it is and get on with it.
Yeah, I love all that. Something that I found quite useful myself, and I feel it links into this slightly, is once I got to that stage of accepting, okay, this is who I am, I then realized that I'm actually more powerful in creating my own reality than anything. And through taking responsibility for myself and being comfortable that, you know, this is who I am, that's when everything has just started exploding in a positive way. Responsibility is for that is a really key area, I find. Yeah.
What I think you've just said is, when it fell apart and you allowed yourself to step into your power and accept your power, since then you've been able to let it flourish. Do the stuff that you're doing now, for example.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I would say for me that I know that in the past I had a cycle of, I was in the music business, like I said, I do well, but not well enough, because as soon as it was time to make it big, I'd stop and I'd run away. And I was in marketing publicity, and I'd stop and I'd run away. And I was in publishing, and I was in various things, and I wouldn't let myself make it big, because at the back of my mind, the next thing that happens after doing well is losing everything, and would I have it in me to make it again? So after losing everything as a refugee, I was scared of having, because then I'd lose, and then I might basically be too knackered to pick myself up again. And that was my fear. That was the cycle. I mean, thank God I'm living beyond it now. But it's easy to talk about it like this. But to actually live beyond it, I'd say that's when it's really important to have the backup of other good men. I mean, for some people, it might be women. I don't know. But for me, I need, and the people around me need, other good men, because we get each other. We understand, you know, pasts and where we've come from. But it's just to be held unconditionally, without anyone trying to fix or limit or negate what's going on, to enable that change. Because it's fine to know things, but to go from surviving into living, to make that shift, is vulnerable. Like, how did you do it? Did you have people around, or did you do it on your own somehow?
I was very lucky to have gone through this with my girlfriend.
Right.
I pretty much had to, well, I didn't have to, but I chose to come away from my group of friends and kind of go through it in, you know, on my own with my girlfriend, really.
Good on you.
Yeah. But after, later on, I decided to do some leadership, a leadership program, which really helped to align me with it helped strengthen me, essentially, show me that I'm more powerful than ever, you know, just by being responsible and stepping into that. So yeah, that's how I did it, really. But you
It
know,
was quite, it's a shift, isn't it?
it is a shift. It is a shift, but it's a constant progression as well. It's almost like this development never stops.
Yeah. What scares me is the way that some people, once they've done it, then they'll need to destroy it to justify going back to control. And what I always say is, it's not about doing it right and never doing it wrong again. It's not about right or wrong.
No,
it's about noticing and adjusting. It's a constant journey and a constant adjustment back to center. But it's not necessarily going to be an old center. Things change. It's what is true here and now, and staying on that path.
Yeah. So what would you say to a guy that, you know, he, as an example, case study, if you like, a guy comes in, he doesn't work a very good job, or he's not happy with his job, should I say. He's in a bit of a victim sort of mindset. His relationships are rocky. You know, what would you suggest to a guy that was in that sort of position?
The first thing I'd want to know is what he really wants, like how he wants to live his life. Because rather than giving energy to what's not working now, it's what's the end goal. Because I believe in giving energy to what you want to grow rather than what you want to go. You need to understand what you want to go and why it showed up and what it's all about. But where's this going? And then once we know that end goal, knowing that that end goal will probably never happen, because as I find people walk their paths, it changes, or they reach their goals and they don't notice because they're looking for new goals. So there's nothing celebrated about what's been achieved, which is crazy. But it's like, where is this going, and focusing there. And then knowing here and now what's going on and why is this going on. Is this an old script? Where did it come from? So there are two very, very quick things that I'd like to share, basically to do with one breath. One of them I briefly mentioned before. So let's say this guy hates his job. Let's say, for argument's sake, he's stuck and maybe he's being bullied by his boss, or his clients are leaving, or whatever it is. There'll be a feeling. There'll be a feeling about this. Maybe he'll wake up with it in the morning or when he goes to work or whatever. So get into that feeling and then take a deep breath and follow that feeling. And probably in a split second, he'll know, is it something from school or something from uni or his childhood or parents or what? And that's what really needs dealing with, not the drama in hand. Because unless that's dealt with, then there are going to be dramas coming up, which is life saying, are you ready to let me go yet? Because once you let me go, then you get the next chapter of your life. So it's not about the drama in hand. It's what's it pointing back to? Where's the source? So that's one way to go back. The other one, and I find men, more boys, but men as well, can be right fixers. Straight in the head. What's wrong? I'll fix it. Then everything will be okay. Doesn't work that way. And also, I generally challenge men up saying, apart from the odd car and shelf and whatever, have you actually ever fixed anything by thinking about it? And generally, it's no. So I needed to break that addiction in my life where I'd be in my head trying to fix things. And I learned that the most efficient way I could do that is, as soon as I find myself lost in space, I would take a deep breath in before even continuing to the end of that sentence. Deep breath in, and as I breathe in, I'd think, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. And used to be puts it in the past, and it doesn't own me anymore. Then in the present, I've got a space for change. And in that present, as I breathe out, then I take part with what's in front of me. I'm not lost in space. I'm not fearing, fantasizing, fixing. I'm here and now, engaging and allowing life to meet me. Because if I'm fixing things, then I'm not here and noticing that opportunity's knocking on the door, because I'm too busy trying to like oil the hinges or something.
Mm.
That's a good line, actually. I should use that again. But it's like I need to notice when life is meeting me and bringing me something, whether it's a sign or a temptation, it really doesn't matter. But I need to notice when life's bringing me something rather than being not good enough because I'm fixing or fearing or whatever. And then I can respond to that rather than reacting to the same old crap that I keep manifesting so I can pretend to be in control.
I love that.
So
Sorry.
it's quite simple, isn't it? And something like that could work with anyone in any situation, because it's not here's the formula or let's break it down or let's go into every darkness of your childhood. It's what's relevant here and now. Let's take it with the energy of your life. Let's follow the emotions. And I believe that I have created more by feeling into things and seeing what needs to shift, just feeling into them and feeling them into being, than thinking or manipulating or selling. No, I'd rather attract.
That's amazing. I love being present, essentially, you know, and allowing the feeling or whatever to come through you so you know what you've got to do. That was a massive I don't know what to call it,
like a revelation.
That's the word
Yeah.
for me. I mean, I literally I used to be someone that used to shake and move quite a lot like this, like, you know, I'd be in conversation with people and I would be like looking over here and I'm over there and all sorts, you know, not being present because, well, I don't even know why. It's just something that I had.
Well, probably how. You probably didn't know how at that stage.
Exactly. So, you know, it's a great sort of system that you're talking about. Absolutely.
That's incredible to know about you as well, because you are very engaged and you are very still. I have no idea that you had the jitters.
Oh my God, yeah. And you know what? It wasn't very long ago. It wasn't very long ago. Yeah, yeah.
God, you've done good, eh?
Well, yeah. But yeah, it's a process. It's a process. We're all still developing, aren't we?
Yeah.
So are you? Go on.
I was just going to say, I find it interesting what you said about your old friends, because I had a similar situation where all my dreams came true at some stage. I had all the clients I wanted and, you know, crossed everything off my list, and it was time to marry my my girlfriend, and, you know, we were from the outside the perfect couple and all of that, and have a bigger business and get rich and fat and wonderful and all of that. And I just thought I should check up my options here. So I ended up, through various coincidences, moving to Fiji and then moving to Australia, traveling the world for 5 years, working with Mother Teresa, with dying people, getting slightly kidnapped once. You know, there's all sorts of adventures, shark feeding, bungee jumping, you know, that kind of thing. Then I came back to the UK 5 years later, and I thought I was going to be here for a couple of years to just see the people I love and say, I'm moving to Australia. I just wanted to hang out and let you know rather than disappear. And I came back, and my friends were people that I actually missed more being with them than when I wasn't with them. And that's when it was between a dozen and 18 friends in my lounge. Some of them were old friends, some of them were relatively new. And I basically said, I need to be met at some depth. I need more than I'm getting from you now. And most of them, you know, so I'd been doing all these adventurous things where they'd been building their business or building their career. And a lot of them got addicted to money, power, sex, love, drink, drugs, whatever the distraction. And I needed to be met. So that's when I said, I'm going to start a men's group. I don't know what it is. I need to be met at depth. I might come raving with you sometimes as well, but that's not all. And if you can't meet me, then you might get chucked. Which isn't a normal blokey thing to say, but I really wanted to be with these blokes. They were brilliant blokes. And I just thought I could just leave. But no, I wanted more. And I thought, surely turn around the blokes in hands. These are the ones that I love and care for. Why keep dumping and moving? And that just wasn't my style. So that's how the men's group started. And, you know, some of them have, well, I'd say 20% off the bandwagon. A lot of them have moved away. But there are 3, 16 years later, who are still actively coming to their men's groups, especially the closed groups, and some are in and out. But it's not about coming and staying. It's about picking up your tools and living a good life.
Yeah.
But it feels like we got to a stage with our friends, and a lot of men say this, it's like, but I don't want to lose my friends, but I'm lonely with them, but I've outgrown them. But I don't want to just keep getting pissed. But there's more to it than just doing sports and talking rubbish. And some of them do move on. Some of them keep their old communities, knowing the limitations of their communities, and they get other needs met with new people on a new path. But I find a lot of men come to this crossroads of, do I betray? Do I let go of the people that I love, that I've been around all the time? Is it either or? Do I have to sell out to them, or, you know, how do I do it?
Yeah, it's a great, great thing you're saying there. And yeah, it's totally something that I've had to think about. And it's not because I don't love them or anything like that, because I do. But you know, it's just something that comes up. Sometimes you might feel, I mean, in my case, I went through a spiritual awakening. I actually just felt too fragile to engage with people. You know, it wasn't because I don't like them, or it wasn't because I didn't want to, or, you know, anything like that. It was just because self-preservation, exactly. Now I actually live halfway across the country, so I don't see them as much because of that. But I still have the intention to, you know. But yeah, that's really good bit of clarity there around that. Absolutely.
And I'd say that's a big threshold of turning from a boy to a man. Having that choice, taking responsibility for your life and how you wish to live it and what you wish to create out of it. It's a really big threshold and quite a scary step for a lot of people.
Absolutely. So, Kenny, we are going to have to wrap up soon. So if people want to find out more about you, do you have a website or something they can go to?
Yeah. So for the men's groups, there's mensgroups.co.uk, and on mensgroups.co.uk, you can download the ground rules, check and round, and there are lots of videos. So that enables you to start running your own men's group straight away.
And this is your free gift, isn't it?
It's a free gift. And then there's my private work website, which is the manwhisperer.co.uk. And on the Man Whisperer website, there is the personal discovery questionnaire that gets you to answer lots of questions about yourself, just to get a sense of what is the bigger picture. So you can see what's been going on and what are the cycles and what are the personalities, etc., etc. So mensgroups.co.uk, the manwhisperer.co.uk. Otherwise, beat on your drum really hard, because we're men, and I'll beat on my drum back.
Excellent. Okay, great. So yeah, that's really generous to give all that away. So thank you so much for that.
It's an absolute pleasure. And also, if people come through you and everything that you're setting up, then I think it would be really cool if they stepped into a free space on an online group, if they'd like that too. So as well as the groups in London, I do online groups and people from all over the world join in. So it would be really nice to check it out by checking in and hanging out with some of us blokes, and let's do that. But they need to say they've come through you, because otherwise they'll get charged.
Okay. Well, we'll put a link in or something into this, and they can click that. Yeah.
Or you can give them a code word or something.
Or that. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll set something up, and it'll be on this page somewhere for them to do. Excellent.
Great.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
I'm really grateful for you being here. And yeah, you've given some amazing wisdom, and yeah, it's been very, very helpful. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for watching as well. And yeah, peace to you. And also, don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another amazing episode and speaker. So yeah, thank you to Kenny. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Great to hang out. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.
Cheers.